TN Weekend Prime, the point of news. We're just about to get into that discussion. John Alanama with Meshack Yebei's brother on the other side of the studio. But let's just reset and see what we know now since Meshack Yebei disappeared last year. Let's have those details for you now. On December the 28th, 2014, Meshack Yebei disappeared in Tarbo. He was going to look for water for his daughter, who was at the dispensary, and was never seen again. Now, a week later, January the 2nd, this year, 2015, his body was found in Rivayala in Nandi County. That's about 40 kilometers from his hometown in Sugoi. What followed after his body was discovered was a sensational claim back and forth between very many parties involved. It now became apparent that Meshack was a witness in the ICC cases. Karim Khan, whose defense for Deputy President William Ruto, claimed that Meshack was a critical witness for the defense. He asked for investigations to be carried out into his death and had also mentioned that he referred him to the ICC Victims and Witness Unit. Now, right after that, Ken Wafula, who's a well-known human rights activist in Rift Valley, came out and rubbished Karim Khan's claims. If we can just go back to that board for just a minute, Ken Wafula claimed that Yebei was not in fact a defense witness. He said that Yebei's killing was state-sponsored. He said Karim's statement was funny, and this is what he said about Meshack Yebei. Ken Wafula claimed Meshack Yebei was in fact a witness for the prosecution, claiming that he had given evidence to the WACI Commission and the KNCHR Commission, and says that at some point he was either convinced, forced, or coerced into changing his stand. Then, after Ken Wafula made that sensational claim about state involvement in the murder of Meshack Yebei, Majority Leader of the National Assembly, Aden Duale, who was flanked by 20 members of parliament from the Jubilee Coalition, hit out at Ken Wafula. Now, this is what he had to say at that press conference earlier this week. He said, Ken Wafula is suspect number one, and the office of the prosecutor and one Fatu Bensouda should be suspect number two. Of course, that didn't go unchallenged. A day later, the Office of the Prosecutor at the ICC, through Fatu Bensouda, the Chief Prosecutor, said that they were not responsible for Meshack's death. They called Aden Duale's allegation, I quote, outrageous and utterly false. They, in fact, said that they had contacted Meshack Yebei in the beginning, but that he then later interfered with prosecution witnesses. This is what they say. Interestingly, they offered him safe residency at an undisclosed location, but he declined the offer and chose to return to Eldoret. Now, after that, we are hearing today from the Attorney General's office, that's Professor Githum Wigai, who's sent in a statement today, and I just want to read it for you, some excerpts of it. This is what the Attorney General today has said. He says the Attorney General has noted the DPP has directed the CID to commence investigations immediately. And they say, this is the interesting bit, talking about the fact that they were not aware that Meshack Yebei was a witness for any party, right? And this is what they say. They appeal to both the prosecution and defense to utilize the witness protection unit created under Kenyan law to ensure the safety of the witnesses, saying they had not heard from either the prosecution or the defense as to whether he was a witness for either side. Now, this is where we are today. The family has, of course, spoken, but we're going to hear from the family today. And John Alanama is, of course, with Meshack Yebei's brother to find out more about Meshack Yebei, his life. Was he a witness? What did they know? And what do they now expect from the government, from the ICC? And there is John Alanama now. John?
All right, many thanks, Yvonne. That is true. We are here tonight with Ben Yebei. Ben Yebei is Meshack's older brother. Thank you very much for joining us in studio tonight. And of course, first and foremost, our deepest and sincere condolences over the death of your younger brother, Meshack. Let's start, though, with the statement that Yvonne has just read out from the Attorney General, saying that they were not aware that the government was not aware that Meshack Yebei was a witness for the ICC for either party, either the defense or the prosecution. According to the information that you have, at the very least, was the government aware that Meshack Yebei was being threatened?
Thank you very much, Alan. As far as you're concerned, and from information that we've gathered, as a family, the government seemed to have been aware that Meshack Yebei was actually being threatened. We did have a chat initially when Meshack disappeared with the deputy DCIO in Eldoret, and he actually indeed confirmed that Meshack Yebei had reported that his life was being threatened. That was sometime in 2013.
Yes.
We also confirmed from his close friends that he had reported to the police that his life was being threatened in September 2014.
Out of his being a witness for the ICC or his involvement with the ICC?
As a family, we are not very sure that the threat was because of him being a witness with the ICC. However, we are aware that he did actually report that he was being threatened. But as to suspicions of him being a witness for ICC is something that has been there all along since the year 2008. Knowing the fact that Meshack Yebei in the year 2007 was a PNU coordinator in the region where it was predominantly ODM. And the wave there was very strong, and of course he had to brush shoulders with very powerful people at the time. And I'm sure it was quite unpleasant to many who were on the opposite side.
As his brother, sorry to cut you short there, but as his brother, did he confide in you about the people who were threatening him? Who were these people?
He didn't actually confide in us any specific individuals, but he did actually inform my elder brother that he was actually being threatened, and he had reported the matter to the police.
Even in general terms, he didn't describe who it was who was threatening him?
No, he didn't describe to the family.
Yeah.
All
right. About his relationship or with the defense right now in terms of the Deputy President William Ruto. Deputy President William Ruto obviously at the time was a candidate for Eldoret North constituency, then Eldoret North constituency, on behalf running on an ODM ticket, and your brother was representing PNU. There have been some statements that have come out by Karim Khan saying that he was indeed a defense witness for the ICC. You've said that you're not sure, but what do you make of this situation here where your brother represented a completely different party than the deputy president?
Yeah, it was a great surprise to me and to us as a family. One, you note, John Allen, that Karim Khan's statement came after we had discovered Meshack's body at Kapsabet mortuary. We had reported the missing of Meshack from the 28th, and it was actually published in the press or in the media about 29th, 30th.
Yes, the day after.
It was just all over. But nobody made any, Karim did not indicate or even make a statement that this was our witness until Saturday, until Monday, when we had discovered Meshack's body on Saturday. So we're wondering, we can't actually understand why. How does Meshack become a witness all of a sudden? While he was missing, it's like he was not. Now that the body has been found, then he becomes.
Yeah.
So as a family, we are so surprised and saddened by Karim's claims.
Prior to his death and even after the threat started, was there any relationship between him and the people who are currently on the defense in the ICC in the case of William Ruto and Joshua Rapsang?
The much I can say is that most of the witnesses that we withdrew from ICC that we are aware, and they are down at home, are our neighbors. And as I note, they were his friends in his political career since 2002. So these are people who have had a relationship with him over a very long time. So to say he had a relationship with them, yes, very likely.
Yes.
Yeah, and to the extent of the relationship, I may not know, but there was a very close relationship.
Between his friends and the witnesses, but not specifically the people who are on the defense, William Ruto, Deputy President, and Joshua Rapsang. Was there any relationship that you can remember or you heard of between them and Meshack Yebei?
Not at all. I've never had or seen or observed any close relationship between Joshua Rapsang or Honorable His Excellency the Deputy President and Meshack Yebei.
Okay.
If anything, it was the relationship in the opposite side politically.
Right.
Remember, Meshack Yebei contested for Tapsagoi Ward MCA's position as an independent candidate. So again, he was like on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
So I've not appreciated or observed any relationship between the DP, Joshua Rapsang, and Meshack that is close in any way.
Okay.
Yep.
So as to the relationship, because you haven't observed that, you find that Karim Khan's statement very strange in that regard.
Quite strange,
All right.
quite strange. And I don't understand how it just came.
Okay.
And actually, after Meshack's body had been discovered or
Yeah.
found, it should have come at the time when we reported that Meshack was missing. If he was genuinely a critical witness to the defense, then Karim should have raised this alarm upfront. Oh, my witness is missing. Let's search together. But as a family, we are really deep in doubt, and we are suspicious of that claim.
Okay.
Yep.
Speaking of claims, there have been a flurry of claims right after the death of Meshack, coming from people as high up as the majority leader Aden Duale, as well as people like Ken Wafula. Let's deal with Aden Duale and Ken Wafula's claims and counterclaims for the moment. Aden Duale saying that Meshack was indeed a defense witness, and Ken Wafula interfering with that witness. Was there, again, I'll ask you, but on this time about Ken Wafula, was there any relationship that you can speak of between Ken Wafula and your brother?
Not that I was aware of prior to Meshack's disappearance, but since Meshack disappeared, a few of Meshack's friends have indicated that Meshack seemed to have had some relationship with Ken Wafula ever since 2007, post-election violence and other political issues that he was undergoing during his lifetime.
What specifically was the nature of their relationship, according to these friends?
The friends are simply saying they were friends. They were just friends. There's no specific detail given to us as to the extent of their relationship. But it appears to me, well, just as any other friends, or some of the friends have given us information about Meshack's relationship with other friends, is just as good as Ken Wafula being one of them.
Yeah. Okay. And something that's also come up in some of these claims is Meshack's role, again, through another claim made by the International Criminal Court, that he was, quote, deeply involved in the attempts to bribe witnesses and attempts to interfere with witnesses at the International Criminal Court. As his brother, is there anything that you can speak to about that? Was there any strange activity that either you noticed or his friends noticed around that issue?
I have not noticed any issue to do with that claim myself, and I think the rest of the family. As to his effort to bribe witnesses for the ICC, I can't vote for that. For so far as we are concerned, Meshack did not disclose to us any relationship he had with ICC or with the defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Meshack has been home all along. He has never gone away or disappeared for a week or such an extended period of time.
And yet there was this claim that there was an SMS that was received by the family from Meshack. This was at a time that he had gone away. Maybe just explain to members of the public who don't know the specifics of that.
Yep. An SMS was sent to my mother on my mother's line and one of his friends' line, claiming that he was with the wise men of Bensouda, Patrick and Lugusa, and that he's safe, we should not worry. That number had Ugandan code. And that SMS actually came on Monday at about noon or 1 o'clock thereabout. And when I was shown that SMS, I was actually suspicious. I was wondering how Meshack would write such an SMS and not follow up with a phone call to confirm that he's actually alive so that we could verify that. So when we suspected that this could be a dubious SMS, we reported to the police and actually gave them the details of that SMS together with the number that was used. The expectation was the police would follow through and establish whose line that was and whether it was indeed in Uganda or it was a roaming line in Kenya, or for whatever reason try to connect Meshack's missing through that line.
How long after the receiving of this SMS did you find Meshack's body?
We received that SMS on Monday, and we identified Meshack's body on Saturday. That was about 5 days after, yes.
All right. And let's just go back before the receiving of the SMS. We're jumping back and forward here, but it's important to be able to establish certain things about his disappearance. Who was he with at the time, and how, according to the people who were with him, did they learn of his disappearance?
Meshack actually left home at about 11 on the 28th of December 2014 to take his child to hospital. He was accompanied by his wife and the other son. The boy who was unwell is 4 years, whereas the younger one is about 2 years. So the wife says that when he arrived at the hospital, he parked the vehicle, and immediately the boy who was unwell vomited. So he came out to help the boy while he vomited. And he handed over the boy to the wife, and he said, I think this boy is draining, so let me go and buy him a bottle of water to drink. And he immediately left them go to the waiting bay so that they could see the doctor as he went to buy the water. And he walked over. He left the car at the car park and walked to the shops to buy water. Unfortunately, he didn't return. And as at about 2:30, I was home, and my daughter asked me, Dad, Meshack had indicated that he was to be back by 12:30, so we'd have lunch together. And I said, well, I do not know why. So my mother, who was close by, offered to call, because I didn't have my phone at that particular time, and she called the wife. The wife answered and said Meshack left at about 12 and he hasn't come back, and we do not know why. So she asked her to continue checking around. She had already come out of hospital to check around the shops and inquiring whether anybody had seen him. And at about 3:30, I decided to go to Turbo to go and find out. And indeed, we couldn't trace him. So we asked a few friends whom we met in the streets, and they said they hadn't seen him. Unfortunately, we didn't get any lead. So at about 6 or 6:30 thereabout, I took his kids together with his wife home, but I decided to report to the police station in Turbo. And the police officers there told me that you can't be saying that your brother is lost this time. It is just about 6 hours after. So we can't even record. You go and come back after 4 days. And I was a bit disappointed with that. How can they tell me come after 4 days? In fact, one of them went ahead to say, even if we sight and found him dead, what can we change? There's nothing. Let's just wait. The following day then, I went to Eldoret police station, which is the main headquarters for the county, and we reported the same. It was registered in the OB, and we were promised that a signal would be sent all around the country to confirm that Meshack Yebei is missing. And then we kept on going to the police to record statements. That was on Tuesday, Wednesday, and we didn't see any police officer to come and interrogate anybody. Down at home, many people had gathered together, specifically on Tuesday, and tried to investigate and highlighted a few issues and some leads, and all that information was given to the police. But so far, nothing has happened. And that again made us a little more suspicious. Why is it that we are not receiving the attention that is necessary in this kind of threatening situation? At some point, some of the senior officers at the county level were actually saying that guy is safe. In fact, even that SMS that he sent must be genuine. Let's just wait for him. We can't say he's dead or abducted.
So
he's
they were
just a missing person.
of your suspicions?
Quite dismissive. They were dismissive, and it made us very uncomfortable. Now, it is actually on Thursday that we received some investigators from Nairobi telling us that they have taken over that responsibility from the county team. And of course they interviewed us, we wrote further statements, and we hope this time they can go further into the investigation and be able to unmask this mystery of Meshack's disappearance and subsequent death. Were
there claims Or rather, there have been claims that after the statements that have been made by various politicians, that the police seem to have taken a cue from that and asked that they try and identify the body via DNA testing. Are those claims true, and what was your response as a family to that?
Yes, those claims are true. We were surprised. When we were getting the body from Kapsabet on Sunday, we didn't have any dispute with the police. In fact, we took the body to Eldoret, and all they were saying is we only need a post-mortem for our record, and thereafter you can go and bury, because we positively identify the body.
Mm-hmm.
Subsequently, when these investigators from Nairobi came, they said they needed further investigation or verification of the body because of this ICC, because of Khan's claim, or the ICC claim. And as a family, we were not
because he was murdered or looked to have been murdered?
I think, I do not know the reasons, but it's like they just want to go because of the claim by Karim Khan that he was an ICC defense witness. So there was an interest to that effect, and they feel like we should allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Our reaction as a family was that why should we do this, yet we identify the body? So far, this matter has been published in the media and in the press all over the world, and nobody else has come to claim that that body that is in the mortuary is likely to be theirs.
Belong to someone else.
Yes. So we are certain, and about 14 of us looked at that body, and we were satisfied it is Meshack's body.
Yeah.
And we have no doubt as a family. But we have offered to cooperate with them because they demanded that we have to do. And we just hope that no interference in the process. It is our appeal that the government or wherever person does not interfere with that process, so that it is straight and clear.
Yeah.
We have planned for the funeral of Meshack for next Saturday, the 17th January 2015. And we would not like to see any interference. It's our hope that everything will flow smoothly.
Yeah.
We as a family are Christians, and we wouldn't like to appear like we're covering something. We have no reason to claim for a body that does not belong to our son and our brother.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it has no benefit to us.
All right, let's just be a bit more specific, because the body of your brother was found in Rivayala, seemed to have been badly mutilated. But for specificity's sake, what was the result of the autopsy, of the post-mortem, as regards the cause of his death?
The doctor, the pathologist, reported that the cause of Meshack's death was being hit by a blunt object on the head up here, and that it broke the skull and it damaged the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually the main cause. The other injuries are there, but may not have necessarily caused the death.
All
but
right.
it is mainly the tip. It's like he was hit with a blunt object.
So in terms of the timeline, Meshack could not have been in Rivayala when he was hit. How far from Rivayala is Turbo, just to be able to establish how far he would have needed to travel if indeed it may have been an accident?
By the way, Rivayala is about 15 to 20 kilometers from Kapsabet. Kapsabet and Eldoret is 42 kilometers, and Eldoret and Turbo is about 35 kilometers. Consolidating all that is about 100 kilometers. I know the media has been reporting as about 40 kilometers, but that is not true. It's about 100 kilometers away from Turbo.
Okay.
Yep.
So I mean, in terms of the post-mortem itself, joining 2 and 2 together, it really is obvious that Meshack was murdered by whoever it was who kidnapped him at the time. Now, you mentioned something earlier in this interview as regards other witnesses in that area who were friends and known to Meshack. Based on the reports that you're getting from some of their friends, and of course having lived and have relatives in the area, what was the reaction of members of the public and other people to news that these people may indeed be witnesses for the International Criminal Court?
Of course, there is a lot of panic in the area. First of all, there was a lot of rage. People are not happy, and at some point on on Saturday when we received the news about Meshack's body having been found and actually confirmed and verified by my elder brother, the DCIO came to our home, but she had no idea of what had happened or the latest information that people had on the ground, and people were really not happy with them. So they just told them to go away completely because really they had not shown any help. Now that we found the body, there was no value that they were going to add, but I think that was the anger
that had built up for some time.
For a long time.
But as regards how they treated Meshack prior to his death, as well as other people who are related by one circumstance or another to the International Criminal Court, what was the kind of life that Meshack and his compatriots led?
It's like they had some good relationship from what I get from the ground, and we don't have any specific reports of differences or major differences amongst them. There was one situation that I overheard that he seemed to have had a conflict with one of them, but it's like they reconciled and agreed. Of the said former witnesses or something. So I do not perceive or see any serious or major differences that existed amongst them. They seem to have had a cordial relationship.
All right. From a geographical standpoint, it seems interesting that there would be more than one supposed ICC witness in the same area as Meshack, in your home area. Would you be able to speak to something around what could have piqued the interest of the International Criminal Court about the happenings in that area prior to and after the election that may have been of interest to the investigators of the International Criminal Court?
Yeah, as you know, as I told you earlier, Meshack was a PNU coordinator in that particular region during the elections of 2007. Now, his cronies or his friends who were campaigning with him came from around the neighborhood, his home area. And actually there are many and very close neighbors. And remember, we are also neighbors with His Excellency, the Deputy President.
Yes.
He's just in the next village, just across the river. We are not far apart. Now, when the post-election violence occurred and people were quite unhappy with the PNU group of people who are locals, not the other tribes, but the fellow community members who were known to be PNU were actually threatened by the community at that time. And I think it is out of that they came closer to one another because they suffered together. And when investigations into these ICC cases came, most likely that they volunteered to give information of what they saw and what they had out of the pain they had. And that is how most of them were captured. I'm sure the ICC witnesses are spread all over the country. But I know around our area, we had a number
of people who are ICC witnesses, and it is an open secret, more or less, that there were quite a number of people from your area who were cooperating with the International Criminal Court. How does that make you feel about if he was indeed an International Criminal Court witness, either for the defense or for the prosecution? How does it make you feel about his own safety if so many people knew for a fact or knew through rumors and opinions that were given that he indeed was working for the International Criminal Court or working with it?
I think Meshack denied that fact many times. I remember when he was campaigning, even in 2013, some of his opponents could tell him, "You're an ICC witness," and of course it was in an effort to
stigmatize him.
Yes, to stigmatize him so that he doesn't follow through his campaigns. But Meshack denied that many times, and remember, ICC investigations began in 2008, and Meshack has always been around since then, up to the other day when he was killed. And it doesn't give me any feel as to why he ought to have felt that he was under threat. Because the relationship with his people around the village and the community was not that extreme, save for during campaign time.
Of course,
Yeah.
this would lead others to ask then, since the public narrative has spun it so closely in terms of his death with the International Criminal Court, could there have been any other reason why somebody might have wanted to kill Meshack?
All of us, owing to the limited information we are getting on the ground, seem to be associating this death with things to do with ICC. As to the extent whether it is for defense or for the prosecution, we do not know as a family. And that is why we are appealing to the government. We are appealing to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya to help us investigate and unmask this mystery. But what I can confirm with certainty is that Meshack had a relationship with either existing witnesses or former witnesses. Yeah, because they have been his friends all along. As to the extent that he was pulled by the same witnesses into a relationship with either party, I may not know. But I can say with certainty that he had relationship with the witnesses.
All right. Another open secret, so to speak, in that area and other areas where it's believed that there are ICC witnesses or people who have something to do with the ICC is a change in lifestyle of the people who are supposedly in a relationship with the International Criminal Court. Is there something noticeable about how Meshack's lifestyle could have changed, if it changed at all, during the period from 2008 up until his body was discovered?
I haven't seen Meshack change. I think Meshack's lifestyle has been the same all along. Meshack has been doing some business. He's been running a commercial college, and sometimes it's been high and sometimes low. And I know sometimes he has even requested me to help him inject some capital.
Yeah.
And I've not seen any drastic, significant change, either up or significantly down.
All right. As we wind up, Ben, has there been any threat or has there been any change in the way you've been treated by members of the public as well as the police? Do you as a family feel safe now that Meshack is gone, especially in the manner that Meshack died?
I think we feel safe. The response by the community, particularly in the village, and our friends across the country have come to support us in many ways and actually comforted us, and they have been quite encouraging. What we have not seen is the government itself, save the reactive statements that we see from Aden Duale and the like. And when you hear statements like somebody should be arrested and he should be the prime suspect and the like, it makes the family more suspicious.
Yeah.
Why is the government reacting now? And yet we had appealed to them to help us in
Over
the
a
process.
year ago, you had appealed, at least Meshack had appealed in terms of the threats.
Yes.
All right.
And now by them coming out to deny that fact, then it's quite unfortunate.
Okay. Just one last thing before we go, because he would have appealed for protection of some sort. Was there any attempt by the government in that direction, perhaps by the kicking in of the witness protection unit or the witness protection program when he made these reports, or did nothing happen at all when he made the reports about his being threatened?
As a family, we are not aware of any offers of protection. But I do not know whether he was offered and he declined as claimed. But as a family, we didn't know. And I personally did not know of that offer because Meshack had not confided in me of these kind of threats.
Yeah.
So if that offer had been given, then it would have been good for him to take it up so that at least he stays secure.
All right.
But as a family, we feel somehow left out. And that's why I'm making a specific appeal to Kenyans to come and support us and mask this mystery. And two, appealing to His Excellency the President, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, to come forth and help us unmask or unearth this heinous act that affected or has killed
True,
our
and
beloved brother.
And we hope that there will be some go forward in terms of the case of Meshack Yebei, finding his killers and finding out what exactly happened. Ben Yebei, once again, our sincere condolences to you and the family of Meshack, the immediate family, and of course the extended family. Thank you very much for joining us here on KTN Weekend Prime. Let's hope that there is a positive end of some sort to this very negative and very horrendous turn of events for your family.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, as we always do here on KTN Weekend Prime, there is a point to the discussion, even one as heart-rending as this with Ben Yebei. There is a point to the discussions that we have here, and Yvonne Okwara, who has been following this discussion, has that for you right now. Yvonne.
Right, and after hearing from Ben Yebei, Meshack Yebei's brother, these are some of the issues that come to light. Safety of witnesses, paramount in the country, whether they're for the defense or for the prosecution. There are two bodies, both here and at the ICC, that are charged with that, and that is the Witness Protection Unit under Kenyan law that came into operation in 2008, so it has been around for about 6 years now, and the ICC Victims and Witnesses Unit. Who knew what, when, and where? And this is why it is so important. And it's not just Meshack Yebei and his family. There are several other witnesses in that area and also in others. And might I add, this is not just about the safety of witnesses in the ICC cases, but in several other cases, this seems to be an issue Kenya is still grappling with. Those who want to testify in other cases of murder, including corruption. Whistleblowers, many will remember some who've not ended up quite well after telling their stories. So the issue of protecting witnesses in whatever case of whatever nature is very important in this country, and particularly with what's going on with the ICC, this whole issue about certain witnesses disappearing. If those allegations are to be believed, those claims are to be believed, then it just continues to create mistrust, and the process of healing is hampered. For a lot of the residents, like we heard from Ben Yebei, it has created fear in parts of Eldoret following the disappearance and subsequent discovery of Meshack Yebei's body. How does this bode for the process of reconciliation, for the process of healing, and for the process of moving forward? Not quite well if suspects continue, or rather victims and witnesses continue to go missing in not just this case, but in others. So that is the point, and of course, very important that we continue with this process, even as the ICC case for Deputy President William Ruto and Joshua Arap Sang continue at the ICC.